Welcome to Straight Talk and Retirement, your no-hype source for financial advice and making informed choices about your retirement planning. Get on the phone to talk today at 314-931-5877 or text your question to 84126.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Now, here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, hello, St. Louis, and welcome to Straight Talk on Retirement. You're live and local, St. Louis's favorite financial call-in show. I'm Jeff Lapidus, president of JBL Financial Services. Our offices are located in beautiful, sunny, not hot yet, downtown Olivet, Missouri. I am a 40-plus year veteran of the financial services area, a fee-based financial planner and wealth manager. And I'm joined by my incredibly capable crew. My oldest daughter. I'm not supposed to say prodigal daughter, right?
Apparently that means a spendy person.
Well,
we learned that a few weeks ago.
Okay. My oldest daughter.
That's not you.
No.
That is not me.
Aaron Lapidus, who also is a fee-based financial planner and wealth manager. And Robert Markham, another fee-based financial planner and wealth manager, and also our fixed annuity and life insurance sales specialist.
Good morning.
Good morning. We help our clients make smart choices about their money. The way we do that is by designing a game plan, a written step-by-step strategy, a real game plan that has several goals in mind.
First, it's to preserve, protect, and prudently grow the assets our clients have taken their entire lifetimes to accumulate. Second is to deliver a reliable stream of income, one they can count on, so they can do all the things they'd like to do during retirement.
And third is cost-effectively addressing their health care needs, like helping individuals enroll in Medicare and choosing the right plan to couple with their Medicare coverage.
And then when they're done enjoying their assets during their lifetime, we show them how to pass them on to the people they love, whether it's their spouses or children, grandchildren, churches, or charities, whoever it might be, with Uncle Sam or the tax courts taking a big bite out of their money. And as their wealth managers, Aaron and I watch their money every single day to make sure they're staying on track. And that's why they call us the retirement coaches. It's another beautiful day in the neighborhood. Thank you so much for tuning in, visiting with us for the next, hopefully, 2 hours. We've got a lot of fun and interesting things on our mind. What's more important is, what's on yours? Give us a call today. We'd love to hear from you. 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. And just as a reminder, all of our clients are folks like you. They're our listeners. They're 55 and older. They would like to retire, or they're already retired. And as Aaron mentioned, our goal is to create a game plan for them so they can have a fun and financially secure, hopefully worry-free, retirement. And as usual, we'd like to do is we like to tell you there are lots of ways that you can keep in touch with us during the work week.
That's right. You can log on to our website, jblfinancial.com. In the upper right-hand corner, you can click on the Contact Us button. Send us an email with a request for a coaching session, be it financial, Medicare, or both. Or if you happen to have a question throughout the week or even during the show, we do check those. So not only can you call or text us, but you can send an email, and we'll try to get to that during the course of the next 2 hours. Or you can click on the lower left-hand side of the screen in the pop-up box that appears that says sign up for our monthly newsletter. We call it the Coach's Corner, and we do keep the last 12 months archived on the website. But this is, we're winding September down. I do think we have one more week of September remaining, one more Saturday. But
it's already the 23rd. We're blowing right through this month, and we have the September 2023 newsletter. It's got about 8 more days left, so you're definitely going to want to check that out. There's some great articles there for your perusal. First one being employee access to 401k, Roth 401k plans is on the rise. And this is great because those plans allow you to dump a lot more money into them than a than a Roth IRA, almost 3 times as much. And they've gone from about 50% just 10 years ago to almost 90% now. So,
And the other nice thing is for those of you that have exceeded an income limitation for Roth contributions, you don't have that inside of your Roth 401k.
absolutely. And our next article is All Eyes on the Earnings Picture. Earnings season, we just got through that, thank goodness. And this is a great article on how to measure the financial performance of various companies. So you're definitely going to want to give this article a perusal if there's any knowledge gaps.
Right, earnings comes around once a quarter, so if you didn't have a chance to read it this quarter, you'll be ready for next earnings.
Which will probably kick off in, 3 weeks,
Exactly.
if that. And our next article is 4 key objectives of a sound retirement plan, whether it's earning a reasonable rate of return, managing risk, maintaining a stable and predictable spending habit, or mitigating the impact of taxes on your retirement income. This is a great article that can lay out the 4 pillars of a sound retirement plan.
And I just wanted to point out one thing. They had an interesting little infographic in this article that says, that references a few words about retirement and how many respondents used these particular words. Relaxed, 72%. Happy, 64%. And I would just say, I think that just runs so counter to all of the literature that we read on a regular basis about people planning for retirement, people being afraid to retire, people unsure with a lot of uncertainty. I think this shows that there are a lot of people out there, which is great to hear, that are happy and relaxed about heading into retirement.
Well, it's because they have a game plan.
That's right.
Having a game plan, having a coach to monitor that game plan, having someone being not only you accountable for, but they're accountable to you, just makes the road a little smoother.
Right, you don't have to go it alone.
Absolutely. And our next article is, and those of our listeners who've heard us for any length of time know that we always preaching the gospel of having an emergency fund. And now is the time, maybe as we approach the beginning of the next year, to assess where your emergency fund is, and maybe it's time to bulk it up. And this is a great article with some tips and tricks on how to do just that. So
yeah, because unfortunately your emergency fund is something that does need to be replenished over time because everyone has.
Emergencies.
Right. So if you happen to have one this year, an appliance broke, you had to replace the roof, trees had to come down, all variety of things. Maybe it is time to take a look at what you've taken from that emergency fund and how much, where you feel comfortable, what level you feel comfortable having your emergency fund at, and have you reached that?
It's all about being comfortable, I think. Having that excess capital that, God forbid something lightning strikes, you're somewhat prepared for it.
Absolutely.
Yes, and also, as you mentioned, honey, having a game plan about what faucets are you going to turn on to create extra income flow to fill that bucket back up. Doing it tax efficiently, tax effectively is extremely important. So again, we call it the Coach's Corner newsletter, easy to access. Just go to our website, jblfinancial.com. Click on that Coach's Corner icon, either floating on one of the pages you're visiting or at the bottom left-hand corner. And again, we'll be very happy to send this out to you every single month by email. Aaron or staff, again, do keep the last 6 to 8 months of those archived for your printing, viewing, or downloading convenience. So again, we appreciate that. And again, our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you, 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. We always have a lot of things on our mind. What's more important is what's on yours. Give us a call today. We'd love to hear from you. And while we're waiting for your calls and texts, I think it would be I think this is a good time to talk a little bit about investing in that long-term game plan and why it's so important to stay in the game.
Absolutely. Our listeners, callers, and clients have heard us stress the importance of staying invested for the long term. That trying to jump in and out of the market is not certainly not a strategy you can rely on. And as you know, all of I'm sure been aware of through your retirement accounts. The last few years have seen their fair share of ups and downs. At the end of 2021, no one thought, we would enter a 14-month correction and consolidation in the markets. Few people saw the Ukraine war, the rise in oil and gas prices, the inflation that we've been experiencing. Even less people saw the AI-driven tech rally that started at the beginning of this year. So, given that recent history, maybe we take a look back at, what would be the consequences of trying to jump in and out of the market based on how we feel, or the never-ending bad news cycle, animal spirits, day-to-day market action.
Yeah, it's curious here because I was having lunch with a client yesterday who decided to, and a lot of folks do, because when they get a little nervous, to talk about the uncertainty that's going on. Mm-hmm. Is the Fed going to raise rates? Who's going to be the next president of the United States? Is the economy going in the right way? As well as a whole variety of, we'll call them social norm changes that happen. And as I usually have been known to say over a long period of time, because I feel like it's true, it's easy to get out, but it's difficult to get back in.
I would also say, just looking back on what you've mentioned, Rob, the Ukraine war, the rise in oil prices, the rise in inflation, supply chain issues, and I'm going to say this on local air, Dad, for you. It's going to be recorded, too, because we do tape these shows. The more ups and downs that I've experienced as a planner in the market, I have come to realize that what you have said appears to be true, which is the U.S. economy and the people that make up the economy, because that's all that it is everybody working in the economy, intends to be incredibly resilient. And not only that, things are never as bad as they seem, nor are they ever as good as they seem, which really lends itself to the idea that trying to time bad events rarely works to your advantage, because if we look back at what Rob just talked about, no one saw this 20% rally based on AI to kick this year off, because all we heard last year was inflation is crushing, that interest rates are high, that
World War III is coming down now
the
they're talking about the government shutdown. It'll always be something, I guess, is the long and short of it.
What tends to happen is either one, people adjust, like you said, people make choices when it comes to inflation. They don't keep buying the $7 a pound bacon. They say, hey, maybe we'll have a different breakfast meat, because I'm not going to just keep buying the same things at incredibly high prices. I need to make some choices here. And sometimes those choices are subconscious, and sometimes they are very conscious, which is, I've heard from plenty of clients that I've met with that they just don't go out to eat as much anymore. Unfortunately, the service isn't as good, and that's not a function of the restaurants themselves. That's a function of being able to staff them. The menus have changed, and it's really expensive. So eventually, you're just like, well, we can make that at home, and maybe it's not a conscious choice, but you just start not going out to eat as often. That saves money on one side of the coin. So I think that all of those things together really just lend us to, there's always going to be rain, but it doesn't rain forever, and we never truly know when that's going to stop. So trying to time the market, like you said, Rob, based on feelings, because unfortunately once you get into a negative feeling, there is a recency bias, which is I've been feeling negative, so I'm going to continue to feel negative forever.
Yeah.
It's not a good investment strategy.
No, I love the way your dad puts it. It's easy to get out of the market, but it's very difficult to get back in. And
you don't want to believe the good news after you heard a deluge of bad news.
But when you look at that statement, like, what does that mean for, when you drill down into it, what does that mean for you? I mean, so let's say you got spooked in 2022.
Like and, many did.
Right, or it's not unreasonable. I mean, all the news was bad. As you said, inflation out of control, stock market sell-off, Ukraine war, supply chain, on and on and on. So you totally get out. But now you're faced with another dilemma. You're faced with the prospect of getting back in. But when and how much? Well, I mean, normal, forward-thinking people, they're obviously, you want to get back in when conditions improve, things stabilize, confidence resumes. It seems reasonable in theory.
Right.
In reality, no one can know when the right conditions are going to come along. But we know those conditions will come along because, you know, as you said, betting against the American economy, it's been a bad bet in the past. It's going to be a bad bet in the future. Case in point, 2023.
Right, this 20% jump that most people thought, you know, we're going to have a crash landing from the Fed and it's going to, you know, burn to the ground.
Oh, after the horrendous year that was in 2022, no one thought 2023 would start off like gangbusters with a tech-driven bounce of all things, and that AI would propel, you know, pretty much the whole market to stabilize and rally. So just let's think about this for a second. You get out because you're scared in 2022. Now 2023 comes along, and it seems like all boats are rising, but your boat isn't rising because you can't participate in a turnaround story when you're on the sideline. So now you're faced with the prospect of you're not participating, things are going up.
They have to come back down again, right?
So now you're not taking part, it's going up. So now you have to hope that it comes back down again because you certainly would feel horrible buying or selling at the lows of 2022 only to be reinvested at the highs of 2023. You'd be like taking the gun out and shooting yourself in the foot. And it's, you know, again, these are the perils and the pitfalls that one falls into when you try and time the market, when you try and, you know, but the guy on the news media said X, so, you know, therefore, you know, I got to do Y. You have to kind of step back from the noise, I think, if you want a clearer picture. I mean, it sounds counterintuitive, like, no, I pay attention to what goes on, that way I'm informed, but it comes to a point where it's almost like sensory overload, especially when it's all bad news.
And also I would say that most people that are listening and almost every person that's able to retire already has a track record of staying invested over a long period of time to grow wealth. Because there's no way that you'd be able to retire, at least in most people's circumstances, if they didn't use the power of the market over an extended period of time in order to help increase the savings that they have created for themselves and also, you know, hopefully whatever employers have contributed over time. So even though it feels very different, especially for those that are in retirement, because you're not adding to those retirement accounts any longer, it feels different. It's really not all that different because we know that most people are going to be retired for at least as long as they were working. So you have to use the same principles, or at least attempt to apply the same principles to your investments in retirement as you did while you were working.
And, you know, we read a lot of what most people would call boring material. I think it's fascinating. But, you know, the research that we've read...
He's a nerd, too.
The research has shown that if you don't participate, if you miss 5 to 10 of the biggest days in the market, you can dramatically lower your returns.
Your lifetime returns.
Sometimes as much as 40%. And again, you can't participate in a turnaround if you're on the sidelines. And as Aaron said, you're probably going to be retired for at least as long as you were working. So to maintain your retirement assets and to hopefully leave them to your descendants and be able to live off the proceeds, you're going to have to stay invested at some level.
And this brings up another great dad quote. It's more important to catch the highs than miss the lows.
Oh, I like that one.
Right, is that a good one?
Well, it's true because what happens is, Rob, like you were mentioning, when you do become fearful, and if you are sitting on the sidelines, even with not all of it, but even a portion of your assets, you're waiting for the markets to stabilize, well, you miss the bottom. And that's where all the biggest gains are, is on the bottom. So what do you do? Well, look, you can't run for cover because it doesn't make sense. You know you're going to miss the lows. You'll miss the highs. You'll miss the lows, too, at the same time. So what do you do? Well, you have to add some mechanics, some non-emotional things into your planning. And we talk about these all the time. Number one is rebalancing. You rebalance your portfolio at least once a year. With our clients, we're rebalancing it twice a year, sometimes 4 times a year. What we're doing is getting their risk tolerance back into place. What that means is that we're taking money from the winners and we're feeding the losers. That's really physically what happens. In some cases, what we're doing is we're skimming gains to use that to create an income stream for them. We're making sure that they have, as we talked about earlier, a vault of cash that's available to them to deal with emergencies, because stuff does happen in life. We know that. So doing some things that are not related to the market but are mechanical can add a little bit more stability to, frankly, to your returns over a period of time. Because we know that when you're accumulating your wealth, especially in your working years, you're dollar cost averaging by making contributions to your retirement fund every month. You're buying it sometimes when the market's up. Not a good deal. Market's down, you're buying also. Great deal.
And so I would say I would like to go back to that phrase about rebalancing, which is, taking from the winners and feeding the losers. That, in my mind, is a retirement plan's version of dollar cost averaging.
Right.
Because you are skimming from the part of your portfolio that has seen growth, and you are hopefully adding to a part of your portfolio that hasn't. And because we know that not everything rises and falls at the same rate, which is why we attempt to create a balanced portfolio. So your entire portfolio isn't rising at the same rate. It's also not falling at the same rate depending upon what the market does. You are buying less expensive shares, hopefully, of the losers, which will give you the opportunity to buy more shares with the same dollars. So when those funds hopefully rise over time, you'll see greater appreciation, which is the same idea as behind dollar cost averaging. You just, unfortunately, you can't physically do that, adding new money to retirement accounts when you are retired, because you're done doing that.
And obviously there's 2 other things that we talk about every week, and we certainly do discuss with clients, and it's really a cornerstone of our planning. Number one is, and we're going to get into this in our next topic while we're waiting for your phone calls and texts, is using a prudent rate of withdrawal.
Right, because we don't save in retirement, we just don't spend.
Right, and that's number one. Then number 2 is obviously developing a portfolio that has an opportunity to meet a target rate of return so that you can, A, keep up with inflation, as well as your withdrawal rates and taxes.
Right.
So being in the right, not necessarily, and again, the studies show us it isn't necessarily what you buy, the individual securities, but it's your mix.
Which is your composition of equities to bonds and cash.
Exactly.
Or other fixed income instruments.
The mix is what's going to determine your return over time. And by doing some of these other things like rebalancing, which is important, skimming gains as is necessary, having a vault there to deal with things. And then finally, I guess the last component would be, and this is the fun part, and I've coined the phrase, turning on and off faucets, which is developing that when we do have either a specific cash need or we do have a income need, an ongoing income need, that what we're doing is we're trying to do it in the most tax efficient and tax effective way. And those 2 things really are different. Efficient being, am I paying the lowest amount of taxes today? But effective is, am I doing it over the long haul? And sometimes you need to be effective and not necessarily efficient to get better long-term results. So, and then I guess the last one would be is expenses, and that's something that we're looking at. What is the cost to invest? Are we using, if we're using mutual funds, or we're using ETFs, are we using the lowest cost instruments that we can?
Because that creates the lowest hurdle for us to start seeing returns in your account.
Right. If you think about it, right, if you think of it truly like a hurdle, what do we have to jump over to get you back to even, which is the expenses that are being charged by the folks that are managing your money? And as folks that do have a fiduciary responsibility, because we are investment advisor representatives, we're tasked to find you the lowest cost
investment option that is available to you.
Exactly. Again, as fee-based advisors, we don't get paid by what we
making
sell.
trades or anything.
Right. We get paid because we're paid as a percentage of your assets under management. So stay invested. Get with your advisor. Rebalance your portfolio. Make sure that your vault's always filled up with cash.
Right, and that not only does your mix meet your risk tolerance, but that your risk tolerance also meets your long-term goals. Because the research shows us, not only does your mix create 90% of your return,
Yes.
but being overly invested, so being in 100% equities, creates a different risk than being underinvested. So there is a medium between these two things, and a few components go into your particular mix, but one of the most important is, what are your long-term goals? What's your time horizon? Are you retired? Are you approaching retirement, or are you 20 years out? That's going to have an impact on your mix, but also your individual risk tolerance is going to have an impact on that as well.
Well, and the only other thing I would add is, and this is again, is you may call it anecdotal, but I think it's, I mean, I have evidence, at least in our practice. The longer we're working with someone, generally the more confident they are in permitting us to continue to be their advisors.
And I think that comes from cash flow, right?
Right, and also obviously creating their game plan. They're seeing that it's working, etc. And we're using, again, all the tools that we do. When the markets are running hotter, their risk tolerance goes up.
That is something that people don't discuss about risk tolerance,
Right.
is that it can be very fluid, not just based on your situation, but based on the circumstances.
Right. So OMG is is something that we hear. What's going to happen, etc. And folks that are 6 months ago very
Negative.
positive can go to be negative, and again, it isn't that they're schizophrenic.
No.
It's that they're human.
Well,
and so what happens is that, as humans, we know that, the basic thing is you run from fear, you run from danger, you want to, and whether it's real or perceived, that's what we do because it's a survival instinct. But with your money, it doesn't have to be that way. And honey, I thought you made a really good point previous. And again, this is something that you quoted me, but my gut feeling here is that, we live in the freest and the fairest markets on the planet.
So even if we have some negative pieces, or there's some drawbacks, or things aren't the way they used to be, we're looking at this comparatively against the rest of the world's economies.
Right, and whether you think that, it isn't millennials, because I obviously have two of the hardest working millennials right next to me, but other generations, they don't have the same values, they don't want to work as hard, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The truth is that the underlying U.S. economy is incredibly strong, and it never comes to a halt, except for one time with COVID.
That was a forced halt.
That's right.
That was literally a government-mandated halt.
Exactly. So, staying again, when you talk about mix, having more invested in U.S. companies as compared to foreign companies is certainly, there's a risk factor there.
There's also an expense factor there, so we
Right.
have to consider, not only are we taking on some additional risk when we invest internationally, but those funds and different options for investing internationally can sometimes be more expensive, so we have to factor that into what is the reward based on those two risks that we're taking on.
Yeah, I think that's important, and then we'll let this go. But finally, and I guess this is where we've been referring to this the whole time. If you're in a position where you need income, you need cash flow from your investments, we have to turn the faucet on to provide you with income, or you're old enough that you have required minimum distributions that you have to be forced to take them, you become income now people. You can't be, up until 6 months ago, you couldn't be invested in cash.
Right.
Cash was paying less than 1%.
Right.
Okay, if you're withdrawing a prudent rate of 4%, guess what? You're negative. So we need to keep you invested, to give you an opportunity to jump that hurdle of what your withdrawal rate is.
And taxes and inflation.
Exactly.
So there's a lot of
A
battles.
lot of things we have to outrun.
There's a lot of battles that you fight in retirement that have nothing necessarily to do with what the market is doing. It's all entirely based on what the economy overall is doing, what tax rates are doing. Like you said, Dad, we're able to adjust your mix, if you're working with us, based on what interest rates are doing. You know, we see the opportunity. So, for example, now wouldn't necessarily be the opportunity to jump back into bonds because we have heard from the Fed that they have foreseen there will be at least probably another interest rate increase. We don't know if that's...
If you believe them.
But we don't have to necessarily believe them because at the moment it looks like the market is believing them. And so now is not necessarily the greatest time to jump into bonds. But when we see that pause, a long-term pause, or even a rate cut, maybe bonds can become a larger part of the portfolio because they're paying better interest and you have less market pressure on the value of those bonds when we see a falling rate environment.
Right. So as you were saying, I think what you were alluding to was being tactical in certain areas of your investing.
It's different than being uninvested or
That's
timing
right.
the market.
Right. Strategic being your mix, tactical being, really what's inside that mix. As you were just making the point here. Being in short-term instruments, as an example, like a money market account as compared to a fixed rate bond, a long-term bond, medium-term bond, has more principal protection involved in it because as interest rates go up, the value of bonds go down. So staying short term can be great.
Absolutely.
For now. But when we hit the peak and the Fed really would begin to lower rates because that's their mechanism of re-energizing an economy that's gone into recession, that's the time that you want to, if you can, go to intermediate or long-term securities because they're paying the interest rate, and then you have an opportunity for capital appreciation. So it's a fun game to play. We call it a game plan for retirement. But you need to stay in the game to give yourself an opportunity to have that capital be there for many, many years to come. And as Rob was saying, we have to plan for a 30 to 40-year time horizon.
Yeah, and it's much better to just stay invested at an asset allocation that meets your risk tolerances, rebalancing your portfolio as conditions warrant. Especially, that's a much better game plan than trying to time the untimable and know the unknowable. That's no way to run. You wouldn't run your day-to-day like that. You shouldn't run your money like that.
That's a great point. And with that, we have an excellent text question on deck, and I think we'll get to that after our first break of this hour.
Don't touch that dial. We'll be back with more straight talk on retirement after these messages.
Hey, it's John Carney, and I don't want to scare you, and we're still a little way away from Christmas and all. But that time of year, Santa comes rolling over to the house, lands on the chimney, and comes down with lots of gifts. Of course, if he lands on your chimney and he falls through the roof, I bet he's not going to leave you anything except for a card of his attorney. So it might be a good idea. Make sure your roof's in tip-top shape. And if it's not about Santa, it's about everything that's under that roof. You, your family, your stuff. You know what? Allen Roofing's been taking care of all of those things, probably even for Santa as well. I don't know if they go to the North Pole. But they go lots of places, including your neighborhood. Make sure your roof is safe and sound, and your people as well. Siding, tuck pointing, everything outside, they will do your homework. Find them online at aroofing.net. Ho, ho, ho.
Experience the thrill of St. Louis Blues hockey live at Enterprise Center with a mini plan. Plans start at just 6 games and include many of your favorite matchups, giveaway nights, and more. If you're looking to get closer to the action, select plans are now available on the Plaza level. All purchasers get the same seat at every game, a discount off the gate price, and select plans include a flexible payment plan option and a merchandise discount at STL Authentics. Get your Blues mini plan now at stlouisblues.com/tickets.
Catholic Fraternal Life has been providing you with financially sound and secure products since 1884. And now, they're excited to tell you about their new interest rates. Flexible premium annuity rates are 6.5% for the first year, and single premium rates are 6% for the first year. Live a richer life through financial stability and fraternalism with Catholic Fraternal Life. Call 800-240-2554 or visit cfllife.com. FinanceMedicareFirst.org.
This is Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, that you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email, jeff@jblfinancial.com, to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
I'm Mike Robinson with Robank Properties, and I want your fixer-upper home or condo. It's crazy to spend a ton of money fixing it up when I will pay you top dollar right now. I don't even care what condition it's in. Your trash is my treasure. No inspections, no contingencies, just cold, hard cash. Call me, Mike Robinson, at 314-283-0867. That's Mike Robinson, 314-283-0867, or at robangproperties.com.
I'm Jennifer Blome, and like a lot of you, I have anxiety about going to the dentist. I was so happy when I found Baldwin Dental Care. Dr. Kimberly Simons is the owner, and she and her staff understand what it's like to be a patient. There's a new patient special right now, a comprehensive exam, a cleaning, 4 x-rays, and an oral cancer screening for $99 or a $100 credit on your account. Baldwin Dental Care in the old Johnny Mac Sporting Goods store on Manchester Road. Just Google Baldwin Dental Care and tell them Jennifer and Wendy sent you.
Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64?
Hi, I'm Wendy Weiss.
And I'm Derek Dufresne, owner of Mobility City St. Louis.
We're inviting you to join us for Boomers and Beyond every Sunday from 4 to 5.
An irreverent look at aging.
It's going to be groovy, baby.
Far out, man.
When I'm 64.
Boomers and Beyond, every Sunday afternoon at 4 on the Big 550, KTRS. Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talking Retirement on the Big 550, KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Welcome back to Straight Talk on Retirement. It's 9:42 here on the Big 550 KTRS. I'm Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach.
I'm Robert Markham, your life insurance and fixed annuities sales specialist.
And I'm Aaron Lapidus, the retirement coach.
And we are willing, waiting, and wanting to get your questions by telephone at 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line.
Which is now heating up as we are mid through the first hour.
And thank goodness for that.
Yes.
And our first texter writes, good morning. Do you have any clients that are 100% nomadic, whether it's RVs or full-time travelers? If so, are they seeing their expenses outpace their budget, and how does that lifestyle affect your working relationship with them?
So I want to kick this off a little bit, but then we need your guidance, Dad, which is we have some of our longest standing clients are permanent RVers, which when I heard this is what they plan to do, because they completely divested of all of their property, and they've been crisscrossing the country for several years now. I think it's 5 or 10.
10 years.
Oh my gosh, 10 years. They've even done repositioning cruises, come back from Europe. It's like they say, to use one of the words that other people describe their retirement as, freeing. You know, they can just go where they want, when they want. And I know when we originally designed their game plan, that was another spike in oil prices 10 years ago, where we were planning out that, you know, they were going to need to budget for gas, X amount, and then we saw this great decline in oil prices over time. So I know those things kind of fluctuate. So, Dad, as you and to answer the second part of this question, when they pass through the Midwest, they come to see us. We also are always available by phone or Zoom for them if they'd like. But since they happen to pass through, Dad, you made your schedule available for them to see them.
Yeah, we have clients that are all over the country. Some are mobile, some aren't. I was going to say what's interesting about, and I know they're listening today because they listen every week.
Oh, that's so nice.
Very good friends of ours, clients as well, but really become good friends, is that they were smart in a couple of ways. One way you mentioned, Aaron, is that oil prices initially when they started were much lower than they thought. So what happened
turned out
was
to be much lower.
Yes, and so therefore they weren't consuming as much as they could have been. But instead of saying, woohoo, we have extra money,
they turned down the temperature or turned down the dial on their faucet.
Right. I mean, what happened was they consumed as they needed. And over last 10-year periods, I mean, the markets have been volatile to say the least, but the truth is that they're higher than they were 10 years ago.
Right.
And them being invested, doing their thing, really staying in touch, which we always love to do, not just by telephone for our review sessions, but for any time people call.
Also email, which is great. You know, technology has really made virtual communication so much easier.
Yeah, we just don't do texts. We don't do texts.
It's not in compliance, so we like to keep everything running through our email or phone calls to our office.
Yeah, and so my first question always is, because I got this from my grandma.
How's the money?
How's the money? Exactly. And, there are times where we need to turn the temperature up, and sometimes we need to turn it down.
And that's true with people that are not nomadic as well. I like that word, nomadic.
I will send some to our texter if this is something they're considering. And I would certainly say if you're thinking about doing this, call me, and I'll be call us, and we'll be very happy to put you in touch with our friend, our client, who, by the way, has been a great, he's been a great mentor to other folks that have done this. He said two things. Number one,
never back up.
As much as you can, don't back up. And the second thing is, everything breaks.
Not just the mechanics. You mean like the internal, like dishes?
No, we're talking
cabinets.
about what we're really talking about is really more is the appliances stuff. I mean, since your house is on
wheels?
6, 8 wheels, whatever it would be, things break. And, it's curious because when we started together on this project, and this is great because he was a business owner, so really we were like, hey, he's going to pay this amount for the I call it the buggy. Okay, he's going to pay this amount for his buggy, and this is what we're everything came out to be more.
Right.
I mean, the minute he went to choose his buggy, it was more. Then he went to school to learn how to drive it, which
more
I thought
expensive.
was really smart. And then it was like, well, we want to park out in the middle of the desert, so we need
solar panels.
Solar panels, exactly. That was a little bit more money. And then, of course, while we're living in our buggy, we're finding out we would like this or not, etc. So it's really been a curious process, but I would say for them, they love it. And at least once every 2 years, they physically come through this area because they have family on the east side as well as on this side, because they are St. Louisans originally. And it's great. And in the interim, we're texting each other saying,
not
hi,
texting.
how you do? Well, we're saying
Emailing.
hello. We're saying hello to each other. But in terms of talking financial things, then we text, or actually we do a lot of things actually by phone.
And I would say that the thing that I've learned over the last several years working with other clients that have either considered this, done this, is that if you haven't been someone that is an RVer or a constant traveler in the past, you want to try it out before you fully commit. You want to rent it before you fully commit. You want to take a month-long vacation or a travel session before you commit to this, because just as many clients as we've had that love the RV, love the, nomadic lifestyle, we've had I had a client just a few months ago that had bought an RV. They had only done some local traveling, and he was just like, this is too much work. Like, I thought this was going to be a retirement. I thought I was going to be enjoying myself, but I'm not, because there's always something to fix. I don't like driving it all that much. My wife doesn't want to drive it because she can't see out of it very well, so we sold it. So they owned it for maybe less than 6 months. They bought it. They changed their mind. They sold it. Why not rent one? And also you might be able to find out some of those things that our clients did, which is maybe you want something a little different, a little smaller, a little bigger, something that has different amenities. You'll be able to figure those things out without having to commit a large amount of capital to the project.
Yeah, I do want to relate a very quick story here. Because as our listeners know, just for our long-term listeners, at one time I had a home in Tucson, Arizona, and my wife and I would drive there with our dog, of course. And
because of the dog.
Well, thank you. And so on the way, we would obviously see lots of RVs. So I looked at your mom, and I looked at your
story.
mom, and I'm like, we ought to go check this out. She said, yeah, why not? That might be fun to do this. Okay. So we go to the RV show, and naturally, just like the one here, we went to the one in Tucson. They have the buses to start. You see the buses first, and then they go down in size. Okay. So we walk into this 40-footer, brand new. Just the thing is just beautiful. It's got
the kitchen, the whole thing.
Oh, the whole thing. Oh, no, the whole thing's in there. I mean, it's decked out. It's just gorgeous. So your mom climbs up the steps because they're like buses, okay? And she looks down into the cockpit and she goes, "There is no way I would ever drive this thing."
Oh, see, I thought you were going to go the other direction with this. What was the next thing she said?
And there's no way I'm getting in this thing if you're driving it, okay? So. Okay, we're going to have to go down. So, of course, we start moving our way down to the fifth wheel, and I call them the draggers.
Oh, this is where the good one comes. So she gets into the one she'd be comfortable
the class
surviving
C,
you driving,
right? The Class C ones, which is basically just a large minivan. And she goes, "Well, can you sleep in this?" I'm like, "Yeah, honey, it's got a generator. You see there's a bedroom in the back. It's got all the nice wood. It's beautiful, whatever." I think it was there were two. There was like a Mercedes one, which frankly wasn't any more expensive than the Chrysler one. So we're in there looking, and I said, "Well, what do you think?" And she goes, "I could see us travel around in this. It'd be great. You'd be driving, and I'd be in the back with the dog." I'm like, "Okay, now I get the idea." But how long would you sleep in it? How many nights could you sleep in it? She goes, "Maybe one night."
She was not meant for RV or camping travel.
No, I think, and it does. I mean, we're talking about. I think this is I want to say this is 10 years ago.
I think it was right around the time our clients retired that do permanently RV because Mom got a little bee in her bonnet about it.
Brand new, gorgeous, brand new one of these was like $65,000 before you even started. So it was kind of curious in that was sort of the end of my RV days.
You know what? We have an excellent comment from from a texter, and then I think we should take our next break of the hour. Sure. We also have a few more texts on deck before this hour ends. So take it from a motorhome owner. If you are not mechanically inclined to repair, fix, improve, and update things in your motorhome, then you better not buy one because it will keep you busy. I don't know what I would do in retirement if I didn't have something to do on my motorhome. So if you are someone that's retiring and you have tread left on the tires, but you don't want to work, you can work on your own projects on the motorhome.
I guess that's why your mom didn't want me to do it. It was the division of labor. Just me dividing myself from all physical labor.
I was about to say, what if she's fixing something you and Mom drive around and I would have a heart attack.
So let's take our second break of the hour. We'll be back for the last 10 minutes of this hour.
Don't touch that dial. We'll be back with more Straight Talk on retirement after these messages.
Did that really just happen?
I don't think we can talk about that on air.
No, we can't. But we talk about a lot of things.
We sure do.
Wednesday afternoons in the 4 o'clock hour. I've learned so much about the real estate business and all of the extra things that you, Lauren Risley, and your team at Lauren Risley Realty do. I mean, you guys go above and beyond. You've even cleaned out different houses when somebody hasn't done their proper
job.
Work.
Yes, but we love what we do, so it makes it easy. You know what I mean? And real estate is an ever-changing market, so it's our job as real estate agents to make sure we are educated and we are up to speed on what's going on. And that's a big part of our job is educating our clients, really 6 months to a year before they're even ready.
Lauren Risley Realty, 314-775-0684. Experience what I've experienced with my mom and dad, what my friends have experienced. Lauren Risley Realty, 314-775-0684.
Are you a former smoker? The lawyers at Team Malone are bringing cases against Big Tobacco to hold them accountable for their wrongdoings. If you or a loved one have recently been diagnosed with a smoking-related illness, such as bladder cancer, throat cancer, lung cancer, or COPD, please call 1-888-SMOKE-18 to learn more. That's 1-888-SMOKE-18. There's no cost to speak with us.
Before you put your home on the market, before you have to pay money fixing it up to sell it, before you have to pay real estate commissions, call me. I'm Mike Robinson with Robank Properties, and I will buy your home. Any property, any condition, anywhere, and always as is. Call me, Mike Robinson with Robank Properties at 314-283-0867. That's 314-283-0867. You have nothing to lose when you call Robank Properties at 314-283-0867.
Mizzou fans, if you're looking for a great place to gather to cheer on the Tigers, you've got to head to Hayden's Irish Pub, your central downtown destination for all your St. Louis sporting events. Located in the heart of downtown, Hayden's is just blocks away from Busch Stadium, Enterprise Center, City Park, and the Dome. And Hayden's offers game night drink specials you won't want to miss. Enjoy the 20-foot wall of widescreen TVs with 8 screens displaying all the sports packages and featuring the best happy hour in downtown St. Louis. Find them at facebook.com/Hayden's Irish Pub for updates and information. Let's go Tigers!
When you pay for tree work, you want to be sure you're getting the most for your hard-earned money. That's why you should always use the ISA certified arborist at River City Tree Service in Baldwin, Missouri. Hi, I'm Steve with River City Tree Service, and we've been the go-to tree service since 2008. Tree removal, tree trimming, storm damage, deadwood removal, stump grinding, and more. Give River City Tree Service a call for all your tree service needs at 314-270-8071. That's 314-270-8071. River City Tree Service.
Hi, everybody. This is Dr. Dan Lang.
And I'm Dr. Katie O'Brien.
Every Sunday afternoon from 2 to 3, we'll be on the Big 550 talking about everything regarding dogs, cats, and other domestic animals.
We'll discuss nutrition, training, regular medical checkups, invite special guests, and, of course, answer your questions.
So join us every Sunday afternoon from 2 to 3 with Animal Talk on the Big 550 KTRS.
The Animal Talk of St. Louis.
Now, back to Straight Talk on Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Okay, we're back with some more Straight Talk on Retirement. We have about 3 minutes left in this hour until we get to the hour of power.
Just enough time to answer our text from the last segment.
And our texter writes, "Hi, gang. I am not a rock star, so when can I apply for Social Security? I turn 62 at the end of January next year. Thanks for your advice. Love the show." You can apply when you turn 62. There are a couple things you want to be aware of. Every year that you don't take it up until you're 70, you will get an 8% increase in your benefit. But if you're going to continue, and also in addition to that, if you're going to continue to work while you're collecting Social Security, there's a take back, and they take back $1 for every 2 that you earn over 21,240 until the year you turn your normal retirement age. I'm going to assume that, because you didn't write, that your normal retirement age, if you're born 1960 or later, is going to be 67.
That's right, because I know 58 is 66 in 10 months, and it's incrementally increased every year thereafter.
I just had to look this up last week. That's why it was stuck in my head. But
well, it's 67 for now.
Right.
Exactly.
They'll move you.
So you just want to be aware of that until you reach normal full retirement age, that there is an earnings take back if you're going to continue to work while you collect it. So just, and of course, if you wait before you start collecting, you will get that 8% bump up every year until 70. There's no more bump up.
I like to suggest this to the texter. You're not a rock star until we tell you you're a rock star. We're not a rock star.
Right.
Come in for a coaching session. We'd love to hear from you. Give us some more information. Let's see whether or not...
We've had many a rock star in identity crisis.
Yes, that's correct. And also many folks that, when finding out they're rock stars, actually were able to feel a little more comfortable about choosing their true projected retirement date and making those decisions about Social Security, as an example.
And I have gotten a few calls over the last couple of weeks about the take back. I want to start taking Social Security, but I either want to cut back at work or I'm already working part-time. What is the implication of that? So there are a few things at play, like Rob mentioned, when you are electing your benefit pre your normal retirement age. If you want to confirm what your normal retirement age, you can look that up on Social Security Administration.gov, so SSA.gov. Or you can look at your Social Security statement. It will tell you what your normal retirement age is. So you want to be clear on those things so you don't lose out on any of your benefit for any amount of time. And then just mechanically, before we head off to our last break, you are able to apply for your Social Security benefit 3 months prior to when you want it to begin. You can do that online very easily through ssa.gov as well. They do make it simple for you, but again, the earliest date that you can log in to apply is about 3 months in advance.
That's right. And you can always contact us at 314-863-0008. But we'll be right back for the next hour of Straight Talk on Retirement.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk on Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, welcome back to hour number 2 of Straight Talk on Retirement. I'm Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach.
I'm Aaron Lapidus, the retirement coach.
And I'm Robert Markham, your life insurance and fixed annuity sales specialist.
And we are willing, waiting, and wanting to answer your questions at 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the usually hot and heating up text line.
But now, it's everyone's favorite segment.
Smart Choices.
About your health care.
Brought to us by
Aetna and Anthem of Missouri. That was really nice little...
Thank you to our sponsors.
Absolutely. So, unfortunately, I know you've all been waiting to hear about the new policies. I know many of you, if you are already on a Medicare Advantage plan, may have even received your updated benefits for next year. But alas...
You can't talk about it.
It is not October 1st yet. Suffice it to say, if you got your booklet, you're probably happy. Unless something's changed for you and you need to review your coverage. I would say that on the whole, without going into specifics, benefits for most people on Medicare Advantage plans have improved from this year to next, which is great. But you know, we've been getting quite a few calls about, is it time to switch plans? Do I stay on my current plan? Is there anything better out there for us? Because everyone has anticipated that open enrollment, which begins October 15th and runs through December 7th, is, just a couple of weeks away. We promise to cover multiple plans, multiple benefits, multiple comparisons over the open enrollment time period. If you have specific questions, you can always text us right now, 84126 from the text line, or give us a phone call, 314-931-5877 if you have any Medicare questions. If you have a comparison you'd like us to run for you, we are happy to do that. You just give the office a call, 314-863-0008, and we promise to use and obviously change the name some of our comparisons on the air every week during open enrollment. So if you happen to end up in a similar situation, you might get the information before having to do the legwork.
Well, honey, I was going to say, to answer your question, it's, do we need to stay on our current plan? Is it better for us to look somewhere else? The answer is maybe.
Right. We can't say that for sure. So when Gail called us this past week, since she heard us on the radio, she likes what we have to say. She said, when I first enrolled in Medicare, she took the supplement, and she's stuck with that every year, which is not uncommon. The supplemental plans, their benefits don't change from year to year. You may have seen premium increases from year to year, which means your expenses are increasing for the same benefits. But the plan benefits themselves don't change on an annual basis, so that leads people to, set it and forget it in a lot of cases. She asked if she needed to make an appointment to come see Frank, our Medicare coach, for open enrollment, because she was thinking maybe there's something better out there.
That's smart.
Absolutely. Now, she loves her Medicare supplement plan. She can take it wherever she wants. She likes the idea of that essentially open network in which you can see any physician that accepts Medicare. So I would even take it a step further and say there really is no network in this situation. Like I said, whomever takes Medicare assignment will see you under a supplement. But Gail hasn't seen the doctor in several years because she's in relatively good health. She goes to the primary for her annual checkups, and that's pretty much it. So Frank was chatting with Gail, and she said, would you like to hear a little bit about Medicare Advantage during open enrollment? Because we can't chat about what you have the opportunity to apply for 2024 quite yet. Because, she was asking, is there anything better out there? Well, not better than her supplement, but maybe the benefits might be more enticing to her and suit her needs a little better under the Medicare Advantage plan. So Gail was a little reluctant because obviously she's been on that supplement for quite some time. She's comfortable with it.
And she's seen the premiums go up, too.
She also has seen the premiums go up on an annual basis. But she agreed to set up an appointment for after October 1st to have a chat. But I thought that we could take this example and preliminarily really just give a comparison, not using the actual plan benefits of the Medicare Advantage plans, but just the principles behind Medicare Advantage versus the principle behind a supplement. So Gail is currently paying $205 a month for her Medicare supplement, and that does not include her prescription drug plan. So as many of you know, if you are taking a supplemental plan, which they also refer to as Medigap policies or the lettered policies, they're lettered A through L, but most people have heard of G, L, N. Those are the more popular options available.
G is the good one.
G is going to give you coverage for everything except for the Medicare Part B deductible, which is how much for 2023?
$226.
So 100% of your medical expenses, aside from prescriptions, are covered after you pay $226, no matter what you do, as long as it's covered under Medicare. However, you have a $205 a month premium associated with that.
That's almost $2,500 a year out the door.
Well, there, calculator number 2. You are exactly right. It's $2,460 a year. Now, Gail told Frank during her phone chat that she's seeing the doctor once a year.
Yeah.
Now, most people would say, but I don't have to pay anything when I go to see the doctor. I beg to differ here. You paid $2,460 for one visit. That's a really hefty copay.
And I'm also led to believe that if you're on a supplement plan, like say you're onboarded into Medicare and you choose a supplement plan at 65, those costs at 65, they're only going north. Like in 5 years, your supplement plan is going to cost you more than it did at 65. At 75, it's going to cost you more than it did at 70. So it's not
it's not a fixed cost,
right,
and you're
and
right.
It's only going up.
You're absolutely right. So Gail, when she revealed the premium, Frank wouldn't have even had to mention to me that she's been on Medicare for quite some time, because if you are entering Medicare right now, most likely if you were to elect a similar supplement to what Gail has, you'd be paying about $160 to $175 a month, depending upon where you live, depending upon when you apply for Medicare initially. To be up to $205 tells me she's probably been on Medicare for at least 5 years at this point without knowing her age or situation, because you're right, every year those premiums do increase. Between 1% and 5% is the general premium increase that we see across all of the insurance companies that offer supplements in Missouri and Illinois.
My dad, he coached me up on that.
Well, your dad's in New York, where, if we did a price comparison, people would be gobsmacked. Like, it is expensive in the Northeast for coverage, which is one of the reasons why, if you are reluctant to chat about a Medicare Advantage plan because you've seen in national news that Medicare Advantage plans are not as good, that they have all these drawbacks, I would say Medicare Advantage plans are priced regionally and locally. So even if you are in Missouri and maybe you are, for example, if you're down in Osage County near the Ozarks, you have access to different plans than in Missouri. So it's very hard to overly generalize across the entire country what Medicare Advantage does. In the metro area, I can say that Missouri and Illinois plans are some of the best in the country, with lowest maximum out-of-pocket, some of the best additional benefits, some of the widest networks available because we have so many excellent hospital systems in the area. These plans have really developed nicely. So all of that being said, we took a little bit of, Frank took a little bit of time to explain Medicare Advantage in general to Gail before she came in for appointment, so she knew what we would be chatting about. And, you know, simply comparing the $2,460 annual premium that Gail is paying, plus if we added a prescription drug plan on top of that, which let's just say it was $25 a month, that's another $300. So we're at $2,800 annually.
Plus her deductible.
Plus the deductible of $226.
$3,000 out the door.
Right, but to be fair, Gail is not paying her deductible right now because she's seeing her primary one time a year. You get one annual visit covered at no extra charge to you by Medicare, so the supplement wouldn't charge towards the deductible there. But let's just say anything else happened during the year. She needed a specialist visit, even if it was or she needed another visit to the doctor because she has a sore throat. You're going to start paying towards that $226.
What about any lab or X-ray or blood work this time?
Anything else she does that is not women's wellness, which would be an annual visit to the gynecologist or an annual visit to the primary, is going to have some cost associated with it. It may be minor, but you will be paying towards that $226. So if we throw that on top, we're at $3,000 a year. Maximum out of pockets on Medicare Advantage plans are $3,000 a year. So
it's like she hit her maximum out of pocket. So it's like almost as if she had the worst medical year in her life to hit her maximum out of pocket.
But she only saw the primary one time.
Yeah,
Exactly.
So for someone who, in Gail's case, or someone like Gail, whose health care consumption is only consisting of one or two primary care physician visits a year who are generally in good health and generally above board, is the supplement plan, I mean, it really doesn't make sense, does it?
No, and I'll take that a step further for you. So we had an individual, I'll call him Mike to protect the innocent, who on a Medicare Advantage plan, and he needed a knee replacement. So that's something that requires it's major, and also it requires a lot of consumption of care because we're not just talking about the knee replacement. We're talking
rehab and.
Let's talk about before you even get to the surgery. You got to go to the orthopedist. You got to get labs. You got to get labs done. You got to have X-rays done, probably an MRI. So you got a lot of things lined up. Then you have the surgery. Then you have the recovery. Then you have the physical therapy, all involved. Well, for Mike, he was on traditional Medicare. He would have had a $226 deductible Plus, for him, his premium was $220 a month. So we're talking over $3,000 a year. Well, on a Medicare Advantage plan, to have the operation, it would have been a $250 copay for the surgery itself, $25 a visit for, and this is on this year, this is an example of one of this year's plan benefits, and many of the Medicare Advantage plans operate similarly, so just depending upon which one suits you the best, these prices may be slightly different, but just to generalize, $250 copay for the surgery itself. X-rays are covered at no extra charge to you. MRI is no more than $300, and you only pay $25 a visit for your physical therapy. And usually that's 2 to 3 times a week, and usually it lasts for a couple of weeks. So in this particular example, Mike doesn't even hit his maximum out of pocket, even though he's consuming more care than Gail.
Yeah, major operation with many things on the front end, the middle, and obviously the rehab and the back end. So, I mean, yeah, to spend $3,000,
right,
and to not even hit, you wouldn't even hit your maximum out of pocket.
Right, you are giving money to the insurance company before you need to with those supplemental policies. That's how we kind of like to think about things. On Medicare, you get to pay for your services, on Medicare Advantage, rather, you get to pay for the services as you consume them. You still have comprehensive coverage, both medical and pharmaceutical. Most likely, for most individuals, you have more coverage than you've had in the past because Medicare covers more things. And you also have access to extra benefits under Medicare Advantage. We have a great text question that's going to highlight some of that as well. But on the supplement, you're just stuck paying the premium every month if you use it or not.
Which is going up.
Which goes up every year. So why not finally have the opportunity to be in the driver's seat with the insurance company instead of having the insurance company drive you. When you consume care, you pay them. When you are not consuming care, you still have the coverage in the event that you need it, but you don't have to pay the insurance company for it.
It's just really a math problem when you get down to it, and it doesn't matter to us what plan people choose. It's just that we can highlight, the different cost advantages of going with a Medicare Advantage as opposed to a traditional supplement plan, and how those costs add up for you, because you're going to be the one that is consuming health care. So how do you want to pay for those services? What's the smartest way to pay for them?
I have an observation, a question here.
Mm-hmm.
In Gail's case, as well as in Mike, the example that you used,
mm-hmm.
both these folks were, as I like to think of it, on the escalator.
Yep.
They entered at a low rate at the time they were 65, maybe 60, who knows. But they've been on this escalator, and just the premiums continue to increase. So the fixed costs are continuing to increase.
But your benefits aren't changing.
Right. And from what I've seen historically, the Medicare Advantage out-of-pocket maximums have been either staying the same or going down. And so what's happening is that, especially with somebody who's been on a plan for many years, these fixed income numbers, premium versus out-of-pocket, are really starting to get close together, and in some cases even merge, pass each other.
I can't wait to give the statistics for you, since I've had about 11 years of experience now working with the Medicare Advantage plans. And when we talk about inflation or cost of living, which includes medical expenses, next year, I just can't wait till October 1st, because just like you said, Dad, Medicare Advantage has actually been around since the Reagan administration. It just really didn't get popular until about the last 15 years at this point. And over the last 10, it's truly accelerated in terms of benefits, in terms of extra benefits, in terms of access. So networks have increased as well, because the attempt is to be competitive with those traditional supplemental policies. And over the last 10 years, the maximum out-of-pockets have fluctuated. But if we look at the whole market, so, Aetna, Anthem, Humana, Cigna, Essence, all United Healthcare, all of the different plans, we see some of them rise, we see some of them fall. They switch places on an annual basis. So you as a consumer do have the opportunity, even if you decide to switch plans on an annual basis, to control that expense. Whereas with a supplemental policy, if you live in Missouri, you do have the chance to switch to a different insurance company to create premium savings for yourself. However, those premium savings are negligible compared to how Medicare Advantage has been able to stabilize costs ongoing for their enrollees. And we do have a few questions.
And let me start with the one that's right there at the top. I must be missing something. When you talk about supplement versus advantage plans, the explanation you give, why would anyone want a supplement plan versus Medicare Advantage plan?
I ask myself this every time. This is a great question. I just happen to be a very large proponent of the Medicare Advantage plans. I find that through the process that we've developed for individuals that come to see us, where we send a medical questionnaire out in advance that asks for your prescriptions, it asks for the physicians that you're seeing. It also asks us to give us a little bit of information about how you consume healthcare. Do you have anything upcoming? Do you have ongoing issues that we need to be aware of? When we compare the premium costs of the supplement to the benefits of the Medicare Advantage plans, it always seems that Medicare Advantage comes out ahead, especially as these plans continue to progress and increase their networks. The only examples that I can really give of when a supplement makes more sense than a Medicare Advantage plan is if you are an individual that happens to be on more than one specialty medication and your prescriptions don't fit into the pre-prescribed Medicare Advantage prescription drug plan, because you get your coverage bundled together with Medicare Advantage. whereas with a supplement, you can pick and choose your prescription drug plan. And so for some individuals that have high-priced medications, paying more in premium for their prescriptions will help reduce their overall out-of-pocket expense in the long run. So this is why it's really valuable to work with someone like Frank in our office, who is our Medicare coach, because he does all that math for you. For most people, this is the first opportunity when they join Medicare, and then every year thereafter, that they get to choose their own health care, whereas most of the time you had an employer that was choosing it for you and you just had to go along to get along. Well, now you get the choice, and there are a lot of factors that can make things the decision making overwhelming. The great thing about working with someone like Frank is it doesn't cost you anything to do this. The insurance companies pay us a commission when you decide to work with us, so we don't charge for the legwork to get you there. There's no fee to come in and see us, and as Rob has mentioned in the past, I would argue that it creates savings for people to work with a professional in this capacity, because not only do they know the ins and outs of the policy, do you need hearing aids this year? What's the best plan that will, as long as your doctors and prescriptions fit, what's the best plan to give you the maximum benefits? Do you need more dental this year than you did last year? Do you need durable medical equipment? What's the best plan that offers that? Those are the things that a professional can drill down for you and really help you make a decision that fits what your health care needs are.
Well, sitting down with Frank is definitely a game changer. It costs you nothing, and the only way you lose is if you don't have the extra set of eyes, looking over your plan to see, help you navigate what's going to be best for you.
Honey, I was going to say the question they had asked about, are there situations? I can only imagine too, and you have to correct me if I'm wrong. One would be is if you're not living in a major or close to a major metropolitan area that doesn't have an advantage of a large physician network.
So, and I would, yes, in some cases that is true, but even in Missouri at this point, if we go out to less populated counties, Franklin, Washington County, Jefferson County, you're getting access, because we find that most people, a lot of the hospital systems have migrated for facilities out there, but also people migrate back into St. Louis County to get medical care, that the plans have actually expanded that way. But even if we look as recently as 5 years ago, Aetna was not in Osage County down in the Ozarks. Now they are. So these plans continue to improve, so that means that's a great point that you bring up, Dad. If in the past you thought that, hey, I didn't see anything I loved in my county, check again. Check again.
Let me ask one other one. The only other one I can imagine is, what if you were somebody that was doing a lot of traveling?
Well, if you were doing a lot of traveling,
like our RV people.
Our RV people use Medicare Advantage, because when you work with a national insurer like United Healthcare or Aetna, they're going to give, if you elect their PPO-style plans, they're going to give you access to their national network, which will allow you to see physicians in other states as long as they accept that insurer. So when I use the example, as long as they accept Aetna or as long as they accept United, you're going to have access to your plan, which was not the case a few years ago. So not only are the prices...
Are you getting in-network benefits?
Yeah.
That's great. So it's as if you were in your home state.
It's kind of like those old, I like to use the old Blue Cross Blue Shield policies that had the suitcase and it said PPO inside them because you could take it anywhere. This is the same idea. I mean, at least that was my interpretation of that little suitcase. Like, you could take this wherever you want. But we do have a caller on the line.
Kathy, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Aaron, I love your show.
Oh, thank you.
I just wanted to make an observation regarding the example you gave between Gail and Mike.
Mm-hmm.
It was the assumption that that was the only service that Mike required for the year due to your comparison.
That is true.
Now, had Mike gone south during surgery or afterwards during recovery and then required to be an inpatient because that service is typically an outpatient, then Mike would have had to pay a lot more with his Medicare Advantage plan because he now has to pay towards his deductible.
That is true. However, with the Medicare Advantage plans, those do go towards the deductible. And if we just keep using that same example, you make a good point. He very well, if something did not go as planned, he could have hit his maximum out of pocket. Now, if we take into account that he was paying $220 a month for his policy, which is $2,600 a year, plus another $300 for a prescription drug plan, plus the deductible, then he would have probably exceeded still his maximum out of pocket. So that's also another important comparison point, which is what are you paying in premium plus deductible versus what is your maximum out of pocket on a Medicare Advantage plan? That's another important comparison to make. But you make an excellent point, Kathy, which is that it could have been more than the about $1,000 we estimated. It could have been closer to $3,000 if something didn't go right with Mike's surgery.
Thank you so much for the call.
Thank you, Kathy. We really appreciate that call and pointing that out because it is important to keep those things in mind. We do have several more texts, but I think we will pick all of them up after our first break.
Don't touch that dial. We'll be back with more Straight Talk on retirement after these messages.
If you're turning 65 this year, you face one of the most critical choices for your retirement game plan, enrolling in Medicare Part B and choosing your Medicare supplement. I will help you safely navigate this process and find the health insurance plan that best works with your new Medicare coverage. Getting started is easy. Call me at 314-863-0008, 314-863-0008 to arrange for a free health insurance coaching session, or email me at erin@jblfinancial.com.
What if I told you that with one click to Wholesale Siding Depot, that's WSDepot.com, you can view the best selection of windows, doors, siding, and decking products that are durable, up-to-date, and energy-saving that will increase your home's value and comfort. All at wholesale pricing to save your hard-earned money. My grandson Elijah says,
"Are you kidding me?"
My name is Julius Krasanik, celebrating 51 years in this industry. Our local and family business is Wholesale Siding Depot. Please visit our website at WSDepot.com. That's WSDepot.com. For name brand windows from Anderson and Viwinco, CertainTeed composite and vinyl siding, Pro-V and Masonite doors, decking from AZAC, Envision, Fortress, and Trex. We also offer a free contractor referral service to take care of your installation needs. Keep it local and professional. Please visit WSDepot.com. That's WSDepot.com.
Now is when Coventry turns confusion into clarity. Coventry Healthcare has got a simple approach to care. By listening to their members, Coventry can make plans that work harder for you and your budget. The result? They offer great service and clear costs. If you're looking for a plan that's more about you, give them a call at 1-855-338-9551, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. That's 1-855-338-9551. Now is the time to call Coventry Healthcare.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Erin Lapidus.
Welcome back to Straight Talk on Retirement. It is Medicare time. People are fired up. We've got a bunch of text questions on deck.
Floodgates have opened.
Let's get to every single one. We've only got 28 more minutes left.
And our next texter writes, I have been seeing that if you have Medicare Part C, some plans are offering a $900 grocery plan. You know, it seems like they're always adding it. They're never really taking things away. It's just like an additive process. Yeah.
Yes, I have heard rumor of groceries, of utilities, of gas. I've heard rumors of quite a few additional benefits that are being added, and I kind of wanted to tie this back into when Kathy made a great point that services sometimes can cost more than we expect because things don't always go perfectly when we have to deal with medical issues. But let's just take this year's extra benefits, and I'm going to use Aetna's policy as an example. If you add up all of the extra benefits that Aetna offers to its enrollees on a Medicare Advantage, we'll use the HMO Gold Prime for 2023, $2,000 towards dental, $300 a year towards eyewear,
$2,500 for hearing aids. Silver sneakers, $60 a quarter for over-the-counter benefits, which is when you walk into Walgreens, CVS, Walmart, into their pharmacy section, and you buy anything that's not behind the counter. That adds up to at least another, if I don't include the hearing aids, because a lot of people don't necessarily use hearing aids, so if I don't juke the stats and make it look really phenomenal, if I just make it a little phenomenal, the Aetna's already giving you back $3,000+ a year for their current $2,800 maximum out of pocket. So if Mike had that knee surgery, he hit his maximum out of pocket because it went not well, which of course we would never wish on anyone. He hits the $2,800. As long as he maximizes his dental benefit and goes to the dentist, spends $2,000, because there's no deductible with the dental or network with the dental. He gets a new pair of glasses for $300. He gets the gym membership. Aetna's going to give him all of his money back.
Well,
how great is that?
That's incredible. Plus, the other thing to imagine here is that this year was bad for Mike, but next year might not be bad.
Right, so if we look at your health over a 20-plus year period, which is what we project most individuals will be on Medicare for, not every year is the best year of your life, so not every year is a Gale year where you only go to the primary care doctor, but also not every year is a Mike year where you have the knee replacement that didn't go so well. Most years are average.
Isn't there a formula like once every 7 years, I think you've worked out?
Yes, that is through Aetna and United Healthcare. Came out with some statistics last year for us to use. And they determined that in the Missouri and Illinois metro area, their enrollees are hitting their maximum out-of-pockets one time every 7 years. So if we use just that round number of $2,500 a year of premium expense, if you're on a Medicare supplement,
it's as if you had your worst.
2,500. What's 25 times 7?
25 times 7 would leave you at 17,500.
17,500. Let's take 2,800 off of that, so we're down to like 14,000 and so.
That's your savings?
That was your savings over the 7-year period.
And that assumes that, we're not factoring in the
premium increases.
The escalator that your dad, that's a great
right,
way of looking at.
What floor are you on?
Right, exactly, because those costs are not going down, they're only going up.
But even the simple math is kind of mind-blowing. So important to keep all those numbers in mind. Let's get back to our texters.
Right. And our next texter writes, our 90-year-old mother is on Medicaid and also has a United Healthcare Advantage plan, $0 a month in premium. So far, this seems to work for her. We were going to look on the Medicare.org website to see if there's a better plan. What do you guys think? She's in the 63048 zip code area.
Not to put you on the spot, Dad, but like every zip code in the state. Do you know where she is?
She's in Missouri.
Stop.
She's in She's in St. Louis County.
See?
I thought that was pretty good.
I know, but if I gave you 63124 Ladue, you would have.
Yeah.
Some of the zip codes you always impress me.
048. Yeah, 048. I don't really know about that one.
I would say, so it sounds like our texter's mama is dually enrolled, which means she has both Medicare and Medicaid available, which makes her a great candidate for those Medicare Advantage plans like they are currently using. United offers excellent dual-eligible policies. Aetna also has a nice suite of products available. I would say, wait until October 1st on on Medicare.gov. You will be able to see all the new plan options. But I would also say that you made an excellent selection for this year. Take a look again for next year. Just make sure all mom's physicians are on those policies. Or you're always welcome to give our office a call, 314-863-0008. Frank is able to help individuals that are dually eligible, like our texter's mom.
And again, I just would remind everybody that we're not only helping our clients enroll in Medicare during open enrollment, but also during the year. And fortunately, because of your support, we're helping about 300 plus people enroll each year, and we have thousands of our listeners as clients for Medicare, as well as financial planning.
Yes, we do. Our next texter writes, I had Medicare but lost my job and was unable to pay my Medicare premium, trying to keep up with my other financial obligations. I am not at full retirement age for Social Security, so that would not have been withheld. What would my options be now that I'm employed again and able to make the Medicare payments that they had canceled? Make the Medicare payments. They had canceled my Medicare for non-payment. So my first suggestion would be if your current employer is not offering health insurance to you, because that would be my first go-to, is to elect through your employer. You can go back to Medicare to re-enroll. Depending upon how long you have been disenrolled for Medicare, there may be a penalty. Medicare Part B open enrollment does not begin until January, and your benefits would not be effective until July because you are enrolling not during an election period. Because loss of Medicare due to non-payment doesn't create a special election for you that would allow you to get back into Medicare at any time, which is why I would start off with your employer. Can you get coverage through them? Even if you negotiate, hey, can I just have coverage through July? So that way you're not without medical coverage for that time. But you are able to re-enroll in your Medicare starting January 1st. You're looking,
Cool
Dad,
beans.
you're making, I thought you were making a face.
No, I wasn't. I just, my mind, the wheels were turning. I'm thinking sort of like Cobra. You're disenrolled, you re-enroll with the plan. What happens is your eligibility starts open. So this person will have a new window if they do pick up enroll employer coverage, and also the Medicare Part B penalty. I think wouldn't be applied during that period because they're not enrolled.
So the Medicare Part B premium increase is going to apply for the time from whence he was disenrolled all the way through until he either gets re-enrolled into Medicare or jumps onto an employer plan. But Medicare doesn't forget the gaps, unfortunately, which means that, if you have a break in your coverage where Medicare wasn't covering you when they should have been and you had no other coverage, there is going to be a penalty. But, Dad, actually, you made the better point, which is that if you're able to join your employer's plan even for one day and then be terminated from the policy, that will give you the special election into Medicare. And now that we've confused things a little bit, if you would like to send me an email, Aaron@jblfinancial.com, or give our office a call, 314-863-0008, I'd be happy to discuss these permutations of the options with you for a little bit clarity.
And I would just let our listeners know, I'm not just the one that texted us. We've been involved in the company health insurance markets for over 30 years. And we still have many companies here in St. Louis that utilize our services to do that. So helping our clients and their employees make those transitions in and out, it's normal course of action for us. So it's cool.
Right.
So don't hesitate to keep sending those questions.
Absolutely.
And speaking of questions, we have yet another text. And our texter writes, could you please talk about one of the plans you talked about on the seminar with some of the new special allowances on sports gear?
So I'm flying a little close to the sun. But for you, texter and listeners, I will do it. Some plans, I have heard great rumors that they are offering additional benefits for things like podiatry services, inserts for your shoes. So all of you pickleball players that have pickleball injuries that I've been hearing about, podiatry needs even some additional. And some of this sports gear is actually available to you through your over-the-counter benefit this year. So, for example, if you needed a brace or a bandage, a lot of those things are covered under the over-the-counter benefit right now. But they are expanding some of these extra benefits to be more specific and adding to your over-the-counter benefit. So Suffice it to say that these Medicare Advantage plans want your business, and the best way for them to be competitive with one another in most cases is through these extra benefits. My recommendation every single year, no matter what the benefits look like, is first of all, you need to make sure that your physicians and prescriptions fit well into the policy that you choose. These extra benefits, making a decision on your care based on the extra benefits is really putting the cart before the horse, because even though we've done the math and said, you can get $3,000+ back from these insurance companies, you don't want to be in a position where you're fighting the medical benefits on your plan, because that's really what these plans are for, is your medical benefits. The other thing that I would say about the extra benefits is don't be enticed by things that you aren't going to use. Like, for example, if you're like myself and you're more of a homebody, you like your trinkets around you, you don't want to travel all the time, having access to a national network is nearly irrelevant, because everyone on a Medicare Advantage plan has access to emergency and urgent care services throughout the country and emergency throughout the world. So if you're not one of our nomadic retirees or driving around in the RV and you don't need a national network, don't be concerned if your policy has it or not. It's great if it does, but if it doesn't, you don't need that. If you don't have a hearing, if you're not a man, you don't have a hearing problem. No, I'm just kidding, because
What'd you say?
Exactly. Even the hearing aids don't correct selective hearing, ladies. So I know you're enticing your husbands to get the hearing aids, but it won't work. If you don't need a hearing aid, it's great that Aetna offers $2,500 a year for them, but that's not a benefit you're going to use.
So they keep sweetening the pot, but what we want people to understand is you don't want to keep your eye on the sweeteners. Your hearing aids, your eyeglasses, your gym memberships, things of that nature. Because that's all well and good.
And it is incredibly helpful when we do the math for you about your savings.
We don't want to base our elections on, I have a copper tone, elbow sleeve. We want to get away from that.
Yes.
Makes sense.
But, I'll also say the main differentiators between most of these policies are the networks and the prescriptions that they cover, and those, shockingly, are the two most important things that you want to keep your eye on. All the extra benefits, we can get down into the nitty-gritty of that once you said, hey, these are my true needs on Medicare. With that, I think it's time for our second break of our second hour.
Time flies when you're having fun. Don't touch that dial. We'll be back with more Straight Talk on retirement after these messages.
Now is when a small change can make a big difference. If you're not happy with your current Medicare coverage, take a look at Coventry Healthcare. They have a wide range of plans with great service and clear costs, including medical and drug coverage in one simple plan. Just call 1-855-338-9551, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week. That's 1-855-338-9551. Now's the time to call Coventry Healthcare.
I'm Farmer Dave, and here's my good friend and owner of MasterCars Inc., Alex Rosenberger, with today's hot MasterCars Inc. deals.
Thanks, Farmer Dave. We're pretty excited as we go into fall here. This is truly Corvette season and convertible season in the St. Louis area. Every Corvette we have, every vehicle we have in stock is handpicked by my father and myself. Everything's AutoCheck certified. We also purchase vehicles. We're always looking for Corvettes, Vipers, Hellcats, anything unique, interesting, late model, clean, low miles, classics, you name it. If it's something special, we want to know about it. We have excellent financing available. Believe it or not, there's still some great interest rates out there, and we work hard to make sure we do get you the best term and rate. Easy approvals. Jump on our site, mastercarsinc.com, hit the finance button, and get pre-approved.
So rev that motor and point your car in the direction of MasterCars Inc. and buy or sell today. 4100 Namioki Road in Granite City, or visit mastercarsinc.com to get more details. That's mastercarsinc.com.
If you're turning 65 this year, you face one of the most critical choices for your retirement game plan: enrolling in Medicare Part B and choosing your Medicare supplement. I will help you safely navigate this process and find the health insurance plan that best works with your new Medicare coverage. Getting started is easy. Call me at 314-863-0008, 314-863-0008 to arrange for a free health insurance coaching session, or email me at aaron@jblfinancial.com.
Now, back to Straight Talk on Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, we're back here with some more Straight Talk on Retirement. It's 10:48 here on the Big 550 KTRS. We've got about 10 minutes left in the show. Here to answer your questions, 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. Whether it's financial questions or Medicare questions, give us a text or give us a call. We'd love to hear from you.
And we've got another fan favorite topic, Social Security, on deck.
And this is a text from about 40 minutes ago, but we just got inundated with Medicare text, so we're circling back. And
don't want to miss a single question.
Exactly. So our texter writes, I am 63 and my husband is 61. If he is the higher wage earner, it would be best to wait to take his spousal benefit under Social Security, correct?
Unfortunately, I need a little bit more information.
Well, I think
confirm.
I think from a generic question, the answer would be yes. I mean, if his benefit is higher and hers would not cross over his.
That's true, but she just said he was the higher wage earner. That doesn't necessarily mean that 50% of his benefit is going to be greater than her benefit. So the first thing I would do is log on to SSA.gov, create your My Social Security accounts, get current statements, because at 61, he may not have received a statement recently as they've changed the process of mailing those statements. Compare your benefit to 50% of his benefit. In addition to that, and if your benefit is more than 50% of your husband's benefit, then it doesn't make sense to take the spousal, because at this point, once you elect a benefit, you are locked into that benefit unless you push him, into the river and you are able to collect the survivor benefit.
Or you pay back your benefit during the first year, and then you get to reset the clock again.
The other important factor is, when are you deciding to make these elections? If you plan to elect the spousal benefit before your normal retirement age, you need to take 50% of your husband's benefit and discount it 8% per year for how old you are versus your normal retirement age.
And also your husband has to be electing his benefit before you can elect the spousal benefit.
Right. But to make the answer super simple, like you said, Dad, on the face of it, sure.
And, in theory, she couldn't elect it because,
he's not Social Security eligible yet.
And then you'd also be doing it based on his 62 benefit, and that would be
No, you'd be doing it based on
his 67 benefit?
Yeah, no, that's right. It's based on his 67 benefit.
But then it would be discounted back for her because she's not 67.
She would only be 64 if we did it right at 62.
They would minus the 8% off every year, so about 24%.
Right, so you'd only be getting 26% of the spousal benefit.
The big deal here is obviously the way you maximize any benefit, whether it's a spousal benefit or your own benefit, is by waiting until your normal retirement age.
At least.
Right.
Exactly.
Good question.
Excellent question.
And it seems as though we've beaten down the texter
line
into compliance.
Well, let's go to an email then.
All right.
If we can. And this is one that happened to, by the way, sneak through the system and got to me.
I don't know how you did that.
Okay, well, it was obviously a Team Jeffer, so it's cool.
Oh.
So John
had
wrote
the direct line.
Yeah, John wrote me. He said, Jeff, I'm 64 and want to retire later this year when I turn 65. Of course, I'll be calling you and Aaron for a coaching session to discuss healthcare options and creating an income stream to replace my current paycheck. Smart man. I've had my assets in a moderate mix, 60% stocks and 40% bond mutual funds in my 401k. Not unusual. Everything I read says that I should become more conservative as an investor during my retirement years. Do you agree? Can I do a sound effect here?
Cue the soundboard.
We
talked about this at the very top of the first hour.
We did.
No, Nanette.
Why is that?
Well, the reason is that we know that if you're going to be pulling an income stream, you don't want one. A prudent withdrawal rate, no more than, would be 4%. If we factor in inflation, which historically 3%, taxes 1%, which is basically a 20% tax rate, your target return, not necessarily one every single year, but overall, your target return should be at a mix of approximately 8%. That really requires you to consider maintaining the current moderate mix or even going to 70-30 if you want to go a little bit more moderate.
A little bit more aggressively moderate.
Yes,
aggressively moderate.
As a mix. If we go lower than that, become more conservative, what will happen is that on average our long-term return won't get there. And so therefore you'll be eating up your capital. And frankly, as you're eating your capital, what occurs is you don't like to take as much money, or you not be able to. And what happens is it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
And we talked a little bit about this last week, Dad, while you were reflecting on the year behind us and ahead.
Yes.
That just like, as you term it, the magical bridge, when your returns are greater than your contributions while you're accumulating assets, there is an unmagical bridge.
Where your withdrawals will outstrip your growth.
When your withdrawals outstrip your growth and you start to eat away at your principal, and when that begins to happen, that is a ball that rolls down the hill just as quickly, unfortunately.
It's like that saying, well, how did you go broke? Well, slowly and then all at once.
Absolutely right. So from a process point of view...
How do we get started?
Well, what you do is you give our office a call or send us an email. And what will happen is our office manager will contact you.
Her name's Kelly.
To arrange for a coaching session. She'll send you a financial questionnaire as well as a investor profile questionnaire, 2 real simple ones to fill out that you want to bring with you.
She also sends along a nice one sheet of suggested documents that you bring along with you. If you have them, great. If you don't have them, that's okay. So, for example, if you're someone that hasn't created a trust, you don't need to go out and get one in order to come see us. But then, if there's anything that isn't on the list that you'd like us to take a look at,
and we're talking about a tax return. We want to see investment statements if we can. Just
401.
Find out.
So in John's case, it would be we'd love to see we'd love to take a look at his 401k statement.
Any life insurance policies, annuity policies, we would take a look at.
Mortgage information.
Absolutely.
The
tax return. And that just gives us an idea not only of what tax bracket you're in, but where, if you are not just a straight W-2 employee, where some of your other income may be generated from, or where else you are paying taxes if it's dividends and interest.
And then what we're going to do is we're going to put your game plan up on our 6x8 whiteboard. Rob, why don't we go through an example for John give them an example of John and Judy, who we visited with recently.
Absolutely. John and Judy, they have an after-tax goal of $6,000 a month, and we know we have to scale that up for taxes by 20%, so that leaves them with a pre-tax need of $7,200 a month.
And when we combine their Social Security benefits, that's going to generate $4,200 a month of income for them.
Which is going to leave them just a little bit short. Well, a little bit more than a little bit. They'll be about $3,000 a month short, or $36,000 for the year.
So that means if we are using that prudent rate of withdrawal, which we've discussed a few times, at 4%, we would need about $900,000 of capital in order to comfortably generate that $36,000 a year, our goal being living off of the interest and the earnings of that capital and not depleting the asset itself.
We call that the milk money.
That's right.
Now, are they rock stars or not? Well, we did find out that between John and Judy, they had approximately $1.2 million of retirement assets and $80,000 of after-tax savings. So they got an official woohoo.
That's right, because their rate of withdrawal is only 3%.
They're under the floor. That's great.
Exactly, and that's
love to see it.
And that's the big deal. We tested to make sure that they had enough cash flow for their vault, for their emergency fund. We made sure that they were in a position where, based on prudent withdrawal amounts, they could maintain that income stream, create that income stream, maintain it, to do the thing. And what's the best part is it's fun. It's free at our offices. Easy to do. Give us a call, 314-863-0008. Again, 314-863-0008. See you next week. Oh, I'm sorry. We got another minute, don't we?
See you next week. Just
I
trying
guess
to.
so.
What
Got
do you-
somewhere
what
to
do you-
go?
Yeah, where you got to be. This is the greatest part of the week.
That was weak to say
That
see you
was
next week.
weak.
Okay.
Well, now that we have
Sorry
this
about
full few seconds remaining,
What do you think? We ought to go to...
I would just think that I would like to just reiterate that
Sure.
Frank's schedule for open enrollment is filling up quickly. So if you are if you heard us chatting about Medicare this morning, and you would like a personal review, we're going to make time for everyone. We can do it over the phone. We can do it by Zoom. We can do it in person. You just give our office a call. My dad already read the number, 314-863-0008. Or you can send us an email, Aaron@jblfinancial.com, Jeff@jblfinancial.com, or even Robert@jblfinancial.com. Now we'll see you next week.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Be listening next week at 9 for more straight talk on retirement with your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus, on the Big 550 KTRS.